to another episode of the Spark series by Maxis Business. I'm your host, Julie Woon. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted global supply chains and distribution channels for companies worldwide. As a result, businesses are being hit by mounting cost pressures. On today's Let's Talk session, we have two well-known business leaders that will be sparking conversation about distribution strategies that have allowed them to thrive despite uncertain market conditions. Joining me today, we have local dairy producer Loi Tuan Ee, the founder of Farm Fresh, best known for bringing dairy fresh from their farms and delivering across Malaysia. We also have Datuk Seri Nelson Kwok from Nelson's Group, a homegrown Malaysian brand gone global that made the corn in a cup a popular Malaysian snack. Here to help me lead the discussion and put everything into context, we have Kevin Lee, head of the SME segment at Maxis. Having dealt with countless local SMEs, Kevin will be sharing his thoughts on this business sector. Welcome to the show, Mr. Loi, Datuk Seri, and Kevin. How's everyone doing today?
Good, thanks,
Great.
Julie.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us despite your busy schedule. And I know, Mr. Loi, you've been traveling up to Taiping and down to Johor, where your farms are. Within a short span of 12 years, you have established a brand as Malaysia's favorite dairy brand with a pioneering distribution strategy, your home network distribution. And Nelson's, I remember, I grew up eating Nelson's corn. Every time I walked to school, I would follow the smell of the corn, and I always buy one as a snack before going to school. And perhaps that contributed to good results as well at school, I'm not sure. But you have a differing distribution strategy. You have a successful franchise model. So different strategies, but successful outcomes. Perhaps you could share with us a little bit more about your distribution strategies and how perhaps it has changed in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think in the case of Farm Fresh, our early years, I think particularly, the earliest 4 or 5 years, our focus is mostly on modern trade. At that point of time, actually, because our products are highly perishable and we involve in fresh milk, so that doesn't give us a lot of leeway in terms of how to protect the product. So modern trade seemingly to be our main focus. So this is why you will see in our early years we are focused on people, Tesco, Giant, Aeon, and etc. Until I think 4 years ago, then we actually start to move into the UHT segment, which actually gave us that ambient normal storage. And that itself, I think, is a bit of game changer as well. So we are able to go further out to a rural area, and all the smaller places are able to sell our products. So I think that is the two significant changes over the 2 years. And distribution standpoint, I think because we have the ambient, we also develop a very unique stockist and home dealer system, and we are very proud of that. I think through that system, today we have almost 2,500 home dealers. 80% of them are housewives, and they actually in return able to make a very a supplementary income, for their families, in the outskirt areas. So I think the way how the brand over the years have impacted someone else's life along our value chain, I think that is very meaningful to us. Yeah,
that's right. I think with this home distribution network, it has empowered micro entrepreneurs. So that is one of the distribution strategies that you're looking at. Besides just retail, you have the home distribution network that has proven to be successful, which is very different from the distribution channels that Nelson's Corn have been expanding across not just Malaysia, but globally as well. And if you fly to UAE, you can probably see Nelson's Corn as well in major shopping malls. So franchising is the way to go for your brand?
Yeah, as I mentioned just now, about before the pandemic, we are very comfortable in exporting. So you don't see Nelson product only in the shopping mall, in the retail outlet, okay? But you never see in the supermarket or hypermarket or convenience store, because our 80% turnover is from exported. But during the pandemic, it came down to zero export market. So we had to change our business of operation, like I say, another channel. And this channel went to diverting into supplying to convenience store, supermarket, hypermarket, and online to get it more multi-channel. But franchising is still there, but not in the play a very important role now. I think another 2 years it will be coming back again when the footfall come back, when the pandemic over, people are going out freely shopping, have no worry about the virus, So it will come back again.
That's
but now
right.
it's supply to farm fresh sweet corn. Farm fresh sweet corn to supermarket.
My cow can only salivating for Nelson sweet corn. The only thing that we can't afford.
Yeah. I think we can. Next time I think with this pandemic, I think we are looking to others of making extra income into our waste. We have a lot of waste. I think we can do business together. I can provide some because the cost of the fertilizer, the feed meal is going to be challenging now. Every time going up, but our corn waste definitely will be good for
I
for
think
them
corn
to consume.
grain feed cost has been remain a very important component of our farming cost. So as I say, I think that headwind that coming in, with all this cost pressure that is mounting. Today, corn price, it's almost like double, right? Corn meal price, the grains, and then the soy and things like that. So there is really a cost pressure to us. If there is an opportunity, why not? Yeah.
That's right.
So
I see there's an opportunity for me.
thanks.
Just now when Datuk Seri Nelson mentioned that, the pandemic has actually impacted your business because you started earlier years focusing on export. So export was
and
really
retail and
impacted.
franchising.
Yeah. What about Mr. Loi? Were your business impacted last 2 years? I thought maybe it was probably the other direction. It was going very well.
I think our case is that, thank God, I think we were very fortunate because I think our products are very basic, very, very old-fashioned, if you like to call it, right? And it's very essential. So what happened is that I think over the years, we begin to realize that, in the bad time, we are able to grow. In good time, we are also growing, and then even this pandemic, we were tested to the brim. And we still grow, right? So I think the challenges was that during the unlike Datuk Seri, whereby his business is the franchise and the mall, for example. So in our case is that when the first lockdown, I think the first week we were a bit panicked. Our products are so perishable. We do not know what to expect because we never seen something like that. So what happened is that the HoReCa market, the cafes, like all this in the mall, the boba tea, they are completely collapsed because there isn't any demand because they're not allowed to operate. So the first thing come to our mind, hey, if that is the case, what we're going to do with these surpluses? And what we realized that the following week, the supermarket orders actually surged, and they actually what happened is that we then realized that what the business that we lose in that HoReCa market, which all the cafes and boba tea and all this, it's actually been replaced by the in-home consumption, supermarket order, in fact, way more than actually we lose. So I think that is something that, in our case, we are a lot more fortunate than Datuk Seri business that we are able to grow still. Yeah.
It's actually, both of your sharing actually sort of sparked some good idea and lesson for all the SME out there because, see, all business like yours, you have multi-channel to reach out to different type of business. Like Mr. Loi, you have the modern trade where you're selling supermarket, you also supply to those cafe. So when one's down, but you have another one to pick up. And Datuk Seri, your export business, you're also doing local. But your local franchising was impacted a lot.
A lot.
But right now, because export also not going to work and franchise retail, so are you actually looking at other diversifying your local distribution?
I think, you have to, because to survive the business, we have to find ways to make it, And one thing I saw the big opportunity is to supply to the hypermarket and the convenience store. And now that the restaurant come back, where I used to supply them for the input, we are starting to come back again.
Yeah.
So it's another channel, domestically. But overseas-wise, I think because the border is already still closing, but I see some light because last 2 months we see some export overseas,
Yeah.
order come back, but not in the big way like before the pandemic. It's still a good chance for us because we are in the food business. Food, if you continue to provide quality, healthy food, I think a lot of the market is definitely there.
That's right. And I think that's what makes both brands stand out. Farm Fresh as well as Nelson's Corn, you have such a strong following, a strong branding as well, that your quality and the value that you provide, speaks volumes. And it's pandemic proof, as you have just shared with us. And you did mention a little bit about supply chain. As we know, we read in the news, global supply chain is a huge issue that has impacted cost as well. Has that been an issue for your business?
Before the pandemic, there's no issue. Because number one, all the costs are very stable. Input costs, it wasn't like that for us farming, sweet corn farming, the seed price, the fertilizer costs, all these are very stabilized. But once pandemic over, okay, almost over now, we see a lot of shortages, and shortages put out the price up, all the supply input costs up by 30 to 50%, mind you. Even the labor. There's no more workers around available to go and farm now. Very little. So our contract farmer do is they scale down. So when they scale down the production, that affects us also, the supply into our processing plant. And in the way they are requesting before the Chinese New Year, we are asking for price increase. If not, they say, I don't want to plant. You go and plant. This is the farmer. I say, I cannot make money. I can't make money if you increase the price for them. I say, sorry lah, I don't plant. It was planting definitely will lose. So understand the situation. Also, I studied the costing side. We have to increase the price, and that to maintain the supply to the local outlet and to the supermarket, and also coming up back is the export market, which are coming back slow and steadily,
Mr. Loi, you mentioned that some of your raw materials come from Australia, where you have a couple of farms as well. Has that impacted pricing as well of your products?
Yeah, it does, Julie. I think what happened is that I think there are a couple of confluence of few factors. Number one, I think the input cost for farmers, like what Datuk Seri mentioned, is very, very real. The fertilizer costs, all the other costs that goes up, the labor costs and things like that. So I think Australia, there's no difference as well. The cost coming from there is also, we are imported. So some of the dairy ingredient, fresh ingredient that we bring from Australia is also impacted. Ingredients that are coming in from Europe, or our packaging material coming from Korea, for example, all these things are actually start mounting up. Say, for example, diesel cost. 2 years ago, you're talking about diesel about what? 140, 150, right? Today is almost 3 ringgit per litre. So in our farm, we have huge implements, amount of, I don't know, maybe we got 50, 80 tractors running around. So you can imagine how much diesel we need to burn. So those are the costs that are actually really does give a business a bit of a pressure,
Yeah, but I know both your business is not just on farming. I mean, you are unique because you have almost the whole value chain. You do your own farming. Yeah. That's a very common thing among both of you. You have farming, you also have the production.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So I think the question that probably I want to just ask is, when for many years in Malaysia, I think we see a lot of local manufacturer or productions tend to rely on labor because Malaysian labor cost has been very stable, like what Dr. Sri said, very stable. But it's a big hit now. Yeah. What's your view in terms of leveraging on technology, automations, or the digitalization on farming as well as your production side of your business? Do you use that, or do you see that as something that it will help you to overcome?
Yeah, I think in our case, probably we are a little bit better in a sense that because the first thing, you must have the skill. If you do not have the skill, don't talk about automation, even mechanization, you might even have challenge, right? Wherever the area that we can replace, I think we will try to do that. Workforce, I think it is going to be a problem, and it will get worse, I think. And we were fortunate because our company actually a very rural-based development project in a way that our factories is in Muazzam Shah, our new factory is going to be in Taiping, Pondok, Tanjung. You probably never heard of the place, So because we are there, I think that also enables to 90% of our company workforce is local. So we are very proud of that as well. So that gives us an opportunity, not only solving our labor problem, but it also gives an opportunity to the rural people. So let's say, for example, in Muazzam, if our technician or our QA executive earning 3,000 ringgit a month, she or he will live very comfortable. As opposed if you earn 3,000 in KL, right? You have a different cost structure. So I think in that sense, I think we are mindful in terms of when we want to expand, we have to take that impending the labor problem into consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Francis is on the rural base. Also, our farming also there. Also, because we cannot be in the city. It's too costly to get the land to farm. And our farmers they are very small scale from 5 acres to 20 acres. There's no big scale of ownership. The more thing is ownership of the land. They are not the owners. They only pachak, they only rent from the government or what, So they are not really that kind of capital abundant to go into automation or mechanizations, because number one, if you put that, the products will come back more expensive. Okay? But then along the way, we also have to tell them that they have to do certain mechanization, like putting the sealing, machine do all the sealing, no more manual putting, That's a small step they are doing now. And then the last, because of the shortage of labor, no workers in the farm. So they use this small machine, to upgrade, to make sure that they can continue to farm the 5 to 20 acres. Okay, and on our site, in the processing plant, we used to also a lot of foreign workers. We are kind of packing, manual packing, but we invested into this auto filler, and sealing. So these are part and parcel of process we have done for the last 2 years. In fact, lately we acquired an auto packing machine, to pack the sweet corn. So these are but you must also understand the last 2 years, 3 years, pandemic has drained out our capital resources. It's coming from SME, Mr. Loi cannot because he got a lot of investors, come and help him to pump in the money to it. They see the big potential.
I think to add on what Datuk Seri is saying, the automation in agri indeed is very challenging because I think to begin with, the land undulations, the plot size are very small. Unlike, say, for example, in Australia, we got about 2,000 over acres. I can pick up my phone now and then dial in.
Yep.
I can irrigate my farm right in Melbourne now, how many megaliters of water I wanted to do. So because the land is also flat, that also enable a lot of automations and technologies applications. So if you were to talk to some small farmers at 5 acres, 3 acres, right? It's really it's going to be a burden for them, even that. Yeah.
That's right. So a lot of consideration comes into play when talking about automation and digitalization as well. Of course, the scale of the business, the product as well, also comes into play. So very interesting insights. And in fact, we do have a couple of questions from our fellow SME peers who would like to perhaps pose a question and to sort of pick from your experience. Shall we take a look?
Hi everyone, this is Daniel from My Laksa, the Malaysia's fastest growing Penang Asam Laksa chain. Hi Mr. Lui, today I have a question for you. Can you tell us that what was your single most critical or important business decision that you have made that has led to the exponential growth of Farm Fresh today?
All right, good question. Thank you very much, Daniel, for asking that one most important business decision that has led to great success from Farm Fresh.
Thank you, Daniel. So I think if you ask me this question, I think for us, I think the biggest single important decision is that we place the customer well-being as a very, very important core value of our business. And then obviously, as a dairy company, we wanted to provide the freshest dairy product to our customer. So I think that itself really speaks in a sense over the last 10, 12 years, right? I think the important part of business is that I think the challenge is one thing, and then to retain the customer is another one thing. So if you can recruit, and if you don't have the right product, you might not want, they will not stay with you. So I think brand, I think the ability for brand to keep to their promises at the very outset, that's how we start. We believe in, pure dairy product for our customers. Our product don't have preservative. We don't believe in all the colorings and etc. I think Mama, all this start to appreciate us for what we are, and therefore I think over the years, every year we are growing over the years. So when you recruit, but you don't lose them, right? So this is why I think that is where it compounded over the years. So we have a very, very good result over year in, year out. Good time we grow, bad time we grow, pandemic time we grow. So I think that is something that we hope that we will continue to work hard to keep that promises to our customer, and then then Malaysia continue to love us for what we are. Yeah.
That's right. So keeping to your brand promise and always putting customers first, and in return they will support you no matter. They'll ride the tide with you through good times and bad times.
Correct, Julie. Yeah, that's
very
very
inspiring
true.
story.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have another question. Let's take a look at question number 2.
Hi, I'm Shuhada from Pacific Oil and Gas. I would like to ask Datuk Seri Nelson a question. How will metaverse affect the retail sector in the future? Thank you.
All right, Shuhada, a very interesting question about the metaverse. Wow, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Datuk Seri.
I think this metaverse, the sentence is very futuristic. And how to come into the retail world, how we're going to affect. I think we look back at the history of the retail. So a lot of times people are doing retail one-man show, then they open chain store, the progress lah, Then from the chain store, they become a franchising, And now because of pandemic, suddenly everything changed, retail industry. And now Meta come in because why? Facebook changed the name to Meta. And then we as a retail, we must continue to change. It's just like from a single owner shop to the chain store to a retail franchising, And now, the last 10 years, we are all coming with online store now. We're talking about online store. So in the future, this metaverse system will come in.
That's right.
Okay? And we have to embrace on that. But the time, for this coming 3 years, I don't think it will happen. But we have to study the matter, and see what we can embrace the system in the near future. To increase, to maintain, to make us relevant
That's the key word.
and survive in the retail world.
Yes, I think the key is to always be agile, always be open to new ways of thinking. With the proliferation of internet, especially in the past 2 years, we know that things can change quickly, and the metaverse is already here, but whether it's applicable to your businesses and whether it affects the bottom dollar, well, it's yet to be seen. But in the meantime, at least we have it in our radar, and to always be open and agile to adapt to new ideas. I think that is the key to surviving.
I don't quite really know this meta thingy, but I think you can offer popcorn in there. The more you pop our corn, the you pay for it. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so before we wrap up the show, perhaps any last words, Kevin?
Very interesting. I think today we have very strong and interesting local story and local brand from both Farm Fresh and Nelson. And a lot of Malaysian business will probably share the same experience, that you started your business, you own the production, you own farming, and then similarity is you also do your distribution. But business over the last 2 years has different impact. So few key learning that I can sort of share with all the audience here, and also learning from the conversation here, is production quality, your quality of the service and product is super, super key for a brand. So we heard Mr. Loi talk about how he used technology, automation to ensure that he continuously, consistently produce good quality of milk. And also we heard from Datuk Nelson talk about how he used all this automation, automated feeder, packaging to make sure that he can scale his production. I think these are the automation, the technology automation that help their business to continue to pivot. And of course, on the demand side, of course, there's a different situation for different business. Farm Fresh, Mr. Loi said his business was never impacted. The demand continued to go higher and higher. So now focus on your distribution from the traditional trade or the modern trade into other channels, so you can reach out to a lot more segment. That is something that all businesses are looking at, should be looking at. Similarly, for Datuk Seri Nelson, maybe a bit more impacted because of the export business. So I think a lot of similar businesses in Malaysia are also having the same situation. Your export business is actually impacted, and it's time to really look at diversifying a local distribution strategy to reach out to more segment, to reach out to more market. So I think this is beside the traditional channel. We talk about whether it's online channel, we heard a lot. We talk about whether leveraging on partnership, convenience store. So those are all the different learning and different experience that we have gotten today. I think it will be very, very beneficial to a lot of Malaysian SME.
That's right, absolutely agree. And with that, we've come to the end of the show today. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing with us your thoughts. And Mr. Loi and Datuk Seri Nelson, thank you so much for spending time with us here today. I'm sure that all of our viewers have gained valuable insights. And we wish you the very best. And we look forward to see more great offerings from both Farm Fresh and Nelson, and continue to make us Malaysians proud. So thank you for being on the show. And to all of you watching, thank you for joining us here today. Be sure to catch us next on our next Spark Conversation. We'll see you soon.